Hey folks, it's Ben. I'm here with another free mower. This one's pretty cool. It's a Landmark with the now classic Briggs & Stratton 3.5 horsepower motor. Quick look on the date code. Puts us February of 1992 right here. So it's almost 12 years newer than the last mower we've had. Unfortunately, it's got a few more issues, so we actually have to do some repair work on this one to get it going. Still has a carbon fuel tank system, but this one, and it still has a choke, or I should say a throttle cable, but now it has a dead man switch, which is fairly lethargic, so we've got to double check on that. The recoil start has an obvious issue, and then for some reason this is also kind of loose, so that's not cool. Didn't come with a plug, so that's not a great sign. And upon inspection of the underneath when I got it, also no blade. So I don't even know if this thing will turn over. The recoil being kind of broken. Well, there you go. But we don't know if it has compression because there's no spark plug in it. So first thing we'll do is we'll check the oil. Oil fill is now on a dipstick, it looks like. Just like the Artisan mower we just did. That's more usual. Let me wipe it off here with a... It says thread in to check. That's a nice little handy thing to know. So that's clean. This one turns nice. Says it's full, but that little amount is dark, so it's pretty dirty, so we'll do an oil change on it anyway. So that's good, so now we can crank on it and be alright. Next we've got to fix this recoil start. We're never going to be able to test anything if we can't get the thing turned over. 11mm works great on these. There's the 3. Hold down the ratchet start. Should be one right over here. So take these off and pop the top. Took the bolts off, but one thing to note, the exhaust, not oily. So biggest issue I have with these mowers is rings are gone or that sort of thing. Lift straight up. Fairly angry. Oh, I missed a bolt. I got that throttle connection. As I undid the throttle connection here, that recoil just zipped right back up into the intake here. So I think the spring is honestly probably just fine. But, oh dear. That's a problem. This ratchet is locked. But we've dealt with these before. That's broken. We'll take these screws off and pop this off and ooh, get some. Oh, I see. The dead man brake here is draggy. No big deal. I'll pop this off. A couple whacks of a hammer on the edge here to pop this lid off. I'll just lift this right out of the way. Seen that before in a bunch of videos. And it's it's wet now with water. And this shaft is just rusted right on. This should be freewheeling on here. And the little balls are rusted in place too. Holy crap. So looks like we're gonna have to do a little bit of whacking around in here. Free this up and get it out. One. Let me get my little pick. Give this thing a couple whacks and see if we can get her free. There she goes. doesn't want to be here. It wants to be free. We'll just get a pair of pliers. We should be able to wiggle that up. Yeah, a little bit of corrosion in here. It's full of water up here. So we'll clean this up, lubricate it, and we'll get it all back together again. And that should give us a recoil start we need to start working on this thing. Now this recoil start it's pretty crusty. So I'm gonna take these pliers and take it off, and I'm gonna go see if I can find a donor mower. I might have one in a little nicer shape, and then we don't have to mess around with trying to clean it or anything. We can just go ahead and, of course, if it's already rusted, it's not going to be fun taking off, is it? It's alright, we'll figure it out. There we go. Come on. Screaming. Now, let's go change that out. Let's go for a walk. Back in my little parts house, I've got one that's already missing the top here, but it's got a different design. So this little cup is obviously much different looking. Its brake's also just this little squeaker wheel, but it's a Briggs because it's got our flapper valve and our carburetor, but gotta keep looking. Well, this one looks like it's been picked over already by the multiple tops on it. Anywho, it's a Briggs, right? Oh, jeez. Oh, you're lying to me. It's got one screw left in it, so that's probably a good candidate. Otherwise, we got this old Briggs over here too. Hey, an Artisan 20. I didn't know I had one of those. I sold a 22. 3.5 liter Briggs as well. Ew, I think this one's an oil burner, so we'll try this one first. Although it hasn't, they both have good decks, so we'll pull the motor off this one. The ratchet anyway, see how it goes. I also get carried away with this video. No point keeping it tight. I've already got some cool other videos. So I think this is the original. This is the that's an MTD, and the original pull cap off this is an 02, 0209 on the code. So that's more modern. So the top part I actually put on it, I think there might be a video on this, me trying to start it. That code is a 97. But long story short, it's got this cup on top. So in the head over there, it's got two little plastic augers that when you pull on it, come out, engage, and spin the motor over. So I've had to come back to this Artisan 20-inch. This deck, we need to get this motor off it anyway, because there's like a rust hole back here, and that wheel's collapsed, because Artisans aren't the highest end. You've got to actually individually unbolt each wheel to adjust the height, so it's a real pain in the butt. So got the bolts off this, including the throttle. Hopefully it's salvageable. I didn't even see if it runs yet, but yank and pull. Hey, look at that. Good guard and a ratchet that actually ratchets. So we're just going to go ahead and take all this stuff off, and we'll get it ready for the landmark. So the parts off our donor Artisan mower. Got the cup off, which is just a lightweight aluminum cup. This is in really good shape, actually. I mean, the friction point's good. It's got a little bit of surface rust, but no biggie. The shield's in great shape, so that's winning. The seal and the balls are even. I don't even have to clean those. So I'm going to snap my fingers, and this will be one awesome clean thing to go. And they're clean enough for me. The points you really need to hit are make sure that this little pawl area here is clean, because that's where the little ball bearings ride. Make sure it's clean in here. You don't want any sticky oil or anything in there that's going to cause problems. And where the ball bearings live, make sure that's clean too. And then I clean this, obviously, because once again the ball bearings touch it, and the seal area here, which we will lubricate lightly before we put it back on. Screws are fine, mesh is clean. Good enough. Let's go back to the landmark. Now this is part of the mower actually, the crankshaft I believe. So we're gonna need to leave it, but I'm gonna take some steel wool and hopefully get some of the surface rust off this thing. We can test fit this. Oh, it's still squeaky as heck. Looks like I need to do the top too. That's pretty good. I let it drop down, but it actually never rides that far because it's going to ride on the cup. That's why there's a little bit of wear there. So I think we're okay. Let's put on the bottom cup here. No thread lubricant needed. Really, you're never in here, but I left my pliers outside. Just give this a little snug up here, just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. That's good. Next we do, I'm gonna put this one old one aside. I'm gonna put a drop of oil right on here, right here. Smear that around. These are just the touch points of where this thing, yeah, look how free that is. Just the touch points of where this thing needs to spin, because this doesn't actually rotate. The motor will rotate under it. Once you give it the initial pull and it locks the ball bearings in, this thing's just along for the ride. So you do need a hair of lubrication on this, but don't go crazy, not much. It's really meant to just ride there. So our little ball bearings in. It's nice on these vertical shaft motors because you just drop them in each slot and you're done. Sometimes the horizontal ones you've got to get her configured. So there we go. We're good there. Everything's free, and that's gonna, anywhere you go, it's gonna catch. So that's awesome. Take our seal here. Once again, just a drop of oil on the seal. And just loop that around. And that's not going to hurt anyone's feelings with this down on here, because this will be spinning with the motor, but this won't be. So you'll have a friction point there. And then I left my ratchet over there too. Oh, but we're not done because I need this guy as well. And you can usually see it's a little bit bigger, yeah, right there where our holes were. And we'll just put these bolts in, and we'll check this out when we're done. The recoil seems pretty happy, and of course this being frozen is going to keep it locked. I don't see any issues with this. It's not even dirty really. It's just kind of a butt head. So while we've got the top off, the Deadman Control return spring sucks, but I don't know if you can see it in this camera view very well, but there's a band brake here that when the Deadman is released, it breaks the motor to stop it, as well as presumably killing the spark. And when you squeeze it, it releases the band brake, which it is now, and that's actually quite free, and lets you mow. It lets you start it, lets you go from there. And that's why they have to have the recoil start on the bar. It's because you have to hold the Deadman to get it to run. So this one seems fine. Outside of our cable is really tight, so it's not really automatically deadmanning. But that's not an issue here. It's an issue that's in here. We'll deal with that later. So we can put the cover on and keep working to see if this thing even runs, honestly, or has any spark, which is kind of what our next step is. So the cover's back on. 3 bolts are in. Put the throttle assembly over to fast and bolted it back down on the edge right here. So that's that little bolt you see right there. So let's see if the recoil starter works, and we can start seeing if this thing will even run. So one pull. Oh yeah. That's what makes it easy. we're halfway there. Dead man springs. Just like I say, it's stuck. So let's go with a spark plug and put that on there and see if we can get her to at least spark for us. Now, I don't know why the plug's not in this thing. My guess is I needed a plug for some other motor, and it was the closest one, so I stole it. So I don't know if someone had tried to do work on this thing before or not, but so we took the plug out of the Artisan, because why not? And let's go ahead and give her a couple yanks here and see if we get anything going on here. I wonder if it'll focus on the plug for me. Yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, she's a runner. Look at that. So winning there. Geez, all we got left to deal with is any potential carburetor problems. These mowers, they're just working out for me. Now before we get too pull happy on this, we got to put a blade under it. And the reason for that is, as far as my understanding goes, the blade on these mowers is part of the mass of the flywheel. So this motor by itself without a blade won't run as nice as it would if it did have a blade. That extra metal spinning helps it run better. So we've got to find a blade for this thing. Now it doesn't jump out and say, hey, look at me, I'm a 20 or a 21 or 22. So we're just going to assume it's a 20. But we'll get the blade. Wonder what mower might have a 20-inch blade on it. Well, the Artisan has a blade. That's a 20-inch. But something's not right here. This is our blade retainer. It's kind of a 2-point with a center bolt. So that Artisan's not quite right yet. The mower next to the Artisan does have the correct mount and all the hardware. So let's go ahead and take this assembly, sharpen the blade, because I'm hopeful, and we'll move it on over to the Landmark. What in the world? So here's the blade off the MTD next to the Artisan. It is the correct mounting, including the wheel bearing. Wait, what? They don't have a wheel bearing. So this little gem here, I don't know what the heck that's for, but it was between the blade and the mower to give this bolt some length, I'm guessing, because it looks like it might be a little messed up in there, and so they're trying to adapt for that. So I'm like, okay, great, we'll sharpen it. But looking at this thing, geez, there's not a lot left to it. She's pretty crunched out. You can figure that line was at one point probably straight. Yeah, that's a little sketchy. So back to the Artisan, but its blade, which is a little beefier and a little nicer, not a lot nicer, but a little nicer, has a bolt that looks like it's good, so we're winning there, and a lock washer. But I need these two holes on the side in the center here to fit, and it actually has them. Actually, that was just dirt. Oh well, maybe I've already jumped the gun here. Yeah, they won't fit, so we're good. So that's not gonna work. So I dug out of my collection of mower blades and found a 20-incher that looks like it's a mulching blade even. I don't know what I pulled it off of. I'm guessing one of my nicer bush mowers, but it's not too dinged up, and it has the correct holes. Eek, are they the correct holes? Not really. So we might still be digging around looking for another one. Let's go see if this blade will fit underneath there. Doesn't fit. This hole here is not as big as this hole here, which actually fits onto that piece that you see there. So let's go looking in the collection of mowers again, see if we can find a blade that'll fit this thing that's not so bad. So I have a bush mower that is retired. It's a flathead, and I use all overhead valves for my stuff at home. It has a relatively new replacement blade. Of course, the replacement blades have a variety of adapters and things. So I have all I need. I'll put this 20-inch replacement blade on. Probably even use the bolt too. It looks about right. And we will be winning with this blade. So we'll get that on the Landmark now. So that blade's a success. It fits nice and snug. The little arm is kept on. It looks like there's a key in there as well. Everything's nice and snug. Could it have taken a 21? Maybe, but it'd be close. So a 20 is a good call for this one. Blade is sharpened too, so we've got new edges on that. Awesome. Neat thing, look at the rubber on these wheels. I was just looking at one of the scrap mowers over there. It had like a thin shield of rubber around a plastic wheel. This one's mostly rubber, so that's pretty cool too. Now that we have a blade safely on it, we have spark. The oil is good enough for now. We're gonna attack this little bugger here. These can be okay. We'll see how we do when we get it out there. You can see I'm getting ready to film the old take the carb off and squirt some gas down it, see if we get some flame. Pretty sure we will, but I opened up the gas tank and well, this tank is full of crap. That's no good. We're going to be taking this thing apart or putting gas in it. I don't want to suck all that crap up into the little nozzles and jets and filters and stuff in this, so we're going to have to probably pull the carburetor on that. And if we're doing that, we might as well just take this off and do it right now. So for those playing the home game, here we have our equivalent carburetor to this one. It's probably a little bit newer, but there's a bolt in it too for some reason, but it's full of gas. Long story short, you have a tank and you have the carburetor. The carburetor is held on by 5 Phillips screws, which are here, covered up by crap. But the whole assembly is actually held on with just 2 bolts. So we'll take the bolts out, disconnect our PVC, our throttle, and our governor linkage, and then we'll be able to take this thing out just like so and be able to clean it on the bench. We'll also be able to take the carburetor off, clean the tank out, and we'll squirt everything with cleaner while we're here to get it going, and then we'll put the original carburetor back on. But this entire assembly you see here is actually plastic, so it's a rust-free design. The tank is still metal, but they were trying to get more economical as they went along, so it's not a lot of adjustment with these. I don't know why I just don't put this one on, but we'll keep the original one on for now and just take it off, and we can clean up in there while we get that off. So here we go. Here's our carburetor. We've got some carburetor and choke cleaner here, which is handy. I don't want to go too cray-cray. I'm mostly looking for in the tank. So we're just going to go ahead and squirt some stuff in here. Now you can technically take the carburetor off now, but the gasket between the tank and the carburetor is 26 years old, and I don't necessarily want to upset that if I don't need to. So I got that sitting in the tank. I'm going to grab a little bit of old gasoline and we can kind of slosh that around and throw it in the little bucket here. We'll start cleaning the outside and see how we do with that. It's easy to handle. Pretty look as well. If we're ever like we and get wet, I don't get sleep water. That go my hand on this. Just now air and gas. Our little grommet here. I gotta work with too. Biggest thing I guess is we gotta get this little arm in there. So that's like so. And we wiggle this guy on like that. That makes a nice seal. Get this little grommet, which just supports the carb. And then we've got this screw up front here, which lines up with that hole. that one. So the throttle's connected. That affects the governor pull. The low hose is connected. This is connected. Line all these guys up and we'll be winning. So with the tank half full of gas, that should be good enough. I'm going to take this and go ahead and screw it in here. I should be able to press the primer bulb, and if it's working, which it might take it a second because it's empty, it should pee some gas. Yeah, right into the motor. These are pretty healthy squirts too, so we'll leave it at 3. And let's get the tools and crap out of here and give it a pull. One for the fun. Ugh. Oh, that wasn't cool. It ran on the primer, but that was it. Well, I'm going to call it a runner because it's running. I'm going to move took my screwdriver, but I'm going to move my throttle so that when I do throttle it down, it throttles down more. There's not a lot of variance between high, which we were at, and low, which is as far as I could go. When it stalled, that was me testing the dead man, so it does kill the spark, so that's working. The spring isn't working on the dead man. I have to manually operate it still, but we can go ahead and put the carburetor or the air filter back on it. And the other issue I'm having when it's running, and you may have seen it in the video actually, is the bag's not inflating. So not sure what's up with that yet, but we'll check it out. Little bit of a hiccup in the running, which I'm sure Seafoam can take care of, and it's full of grass. It's not leaving them behind, so I guess that might be just the way it is. Blade looks fine from this side, so should empty that, I guess. I guess next step is we'll change oil now that it's warm and wash it. Do the final twirly shot here of the finished mower. Landmark's a home hardware brand here in Canada. It's a nicely cleaned up deck, beautiful paint. It's kind of drew me to it. 3.5 classic. Went through the carburetor, changed the oil, cleaned the spark plug, checked the bagger, sharpened the blade, replaced the blade. Pull the thing down, we're at full throttle. Give her a pull. Got a good dose of Seafoam in her right now. A little bit of Lucas oil in there to make sure things stay nice and spinny. If you have any questions on this flathead, go ahead and leave them. Comments are always welcome. And please subscribe to Turbo 231 for more exciting lawnmower videos. We get some Hondas coming up, plus the Harry mower is going to be rolling here soon. And you guys have a good day.